many workshops in it to kind of guide our work. We talked about Gen AI. We talked about tilting the classroom, some things that you all have probably been kind of talking about throughout this seminar as you went along. But then we kind of just really dug in and did work together, librarians and classroom faculty, and also sometimes just cross-disciplinary partnerships. I saw a lot of faculty from, for example, writing and composition, talking to faculty from communications or health studies about assignments and kind of getting to share their experiences in those areas. So what we thought we would do is bring in a few folks who had used their conversations and their work during that research design retreat to guide some new work, either some brand new work or maybe some just seemingly small modifications to assignments throughout the semester, talk about what that experience was like, what their students got out of it, maybe things that they would change in the future, or perhaps they learned they didn't need to change, who knows, right? So we've got a few questions that we will ask our partners, and I'm just gonna let them answer the ones that, kind of speak to them the most, that influence their work the most, and we'll just kind of go through like that. And hopefully we'll have a little time at the end for you all to ask some questions as well. So this will be fun to see if this works. Because it did earlier when I tested it.
Oh, but now you're in front of people.
That's true.
Right.
I will say Rusty did train me and it clearly did not work. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So I'll throw out this first question. How did the collaborative nature of the retreat itself contribute to your learning and the development of your revised assignments? And anybody who wants to start off can, but I'm going to ask that you hold this box when you do. Thank you.
I lucked out and got to sit at a table with a whole bunch of my very favorite librarians. So I felt like I had like wisdom all around me. But we worked on an assignment that Brad has actually been working on with me forever. It's a research assignment, a historical research assignment. And what the collaborative part of it that was so incredible is that Brad and I kind of talked about what the assignment was. And then everyone at the table, the other librarians at the table, were able to kind of step in and say, well, what about? And have you thought about? And it really opened up, just because Brad and I have tried to tweak this so many times, it gave us just a little more insight into looking at it. So it was so cool to be in that room and hear so many different things. And even the other faculty members that were in there kind of talking about, we did a little bit of work by ourselves, and then we opened it up and everybody kind of talked. And just that, getting ideas from people that you don't normally get to sit with, I thought was really important.
Right. Just the ability to hear other perspectives and then to work off of those perspectives. Like she said, we've been working on this project for a while. And so getting other librarians' point of view and other faculty's point of view was very much a breath of fresh air to give us new ideas. So.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't used one of these, believe it or not. So what's that? I'm good. I can do both. Yeah, I'm good. So I really enjoyed the collaborative nature of the retreat just because I've been collaborating with the library on research that's sort of your more typical research projects. They collect data, they analyze those data, they write it up. So this assignment for this class was more for our consumers of research students. So it's more about information literacy, scientific literacy, not for the sake of being a scientist themselves, but for being a consumer of science to inform their lives. So, what's best from mental health? How should I have a healthy marriage? How should I raise my children? These are all psychological questions that should be informed by empirical research, and they need to know how to do this. And I thought that the retreat really opened up my willingness, less tolerant and more acceptance of AI and my students using that and being critical users of AI because they're probably going to be using it anyway, so they might as well get better at it, and a way to refine those sort of communications interactions with AI tools. So I really liked how that worked out.
Fun fact, they are going to use it.
Yes. They
They already are.
So for me, mine was really kind of the beginning stages of things because Cindy and I'd worked together on a very tiny amount of my course, but I attended the retreat in hopes of understanding how I can actually work more with a librarian. And so I didn't really have an exact assignment that we worked on that day, but we were able to meet later and I had a better understanding of what she could actually help me with because of the retreat, because I got to hear everybody else's ideas. And so that for me is it really made a huge difference in my understanding of what could be done.
So what were your initial expectations for the retreat, and how did your understanding of research assignment design evolve during the workshop?
So I'm a very active researcher. I'm a very active mentor. I was director of undergrad research for university for a while. So I have sort of my tried and true methods, and I'm a little crotchety about sticking to those tried and true methods. So I went in there thinking, I kind of know what works for this type of research assignment, but I want to go in with this other type of research assignment that's for a whole different type of student that I feel like the librarians would have way more influence over just guiding how that should happen. So I was really excited to learn about all these different methods and really just being open to, here's what I'm thinking, but that's just an idea and you can attack that idea and refine that idea because you know more than I do. Brittany's actually a former student of mine, so I was also excited to be taught by one of my former students. Well, he's like kung fu movie, like the students become the master. But that was really fun to learn what Brittany knows and to just collaborate further, knowing how I work as a former student and also knowing what psychology students need, especially now.
I went to the retreat thinking that I was going to have a whole day with Brad to fix my work. And so I was a little bit, when I got there and there was an agenda and we had to learn things and we had to listen about AI, I was also very grumpy about AI. I thought I already know till I don't need to listen to this. But I will say that after I stopped being grumpy and ate my Panera, it reinforced the need to take advantage of opportunities that we have here to learn more and to learn from other people. Like I said, I can call Brad and he will help me with anything that I need. So I always have that, but it was just so nice to hear all of the other stuff and really open my eyes about how I can use AI again, productively and ethically to work with my students. So it just reinforced what I've learned over and over here that signing up for these opportunities that we have is going to be meaningful, even if it's not your own 4 hours with Brad.
I'll say for me, I was kind of the same. Like I thought it was going to be, workshop. Like I'm going to work individually with a librarian. I'm going to workshop this assignment or this course that I have. And it wasn't that. However, it gave me what I needed to be able to sit down and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a better use of both of our time than her sitting with me and trying to do that, because that would have taken many more hours. We had all these different minds coming together and I was able to pull all of that in a much quicker time than if, Cindy and I had met by ourselves. And so while my initial expectations were off, what happened is completely superseded them, way above and beyond. And my my understanding of research assignment design changed in that, well, and I know we'll talk about AI in a bit, but I loved how it completely opened my mind, being like, oh, I don't have to have this very traditional research assignment. Like there can be part of the assignment that is brainstorming, and it is
Mhm.
completely as valid as having them just write, because I really didn't want to have to grade papers over and over and over again. So having them say, this is a good way to do things, like this can actually be helpful, felt very freeing, and it gave me a lot of excitement, especially beginning of the semester, to be like, okay, let's change things. Let's
Mhm.
make it better.
Mhm.
Fine.
Oh, we got it? That's it. It changed. Yes. Okay. So what advice would you give to other faculty who are interested in collaborating with librarians to redesign their research assignments based upon your experience?
Do it.
Yes.
We're done.
Do it.
Should I elaborate? So I would have some idea of what you want the outcome to be for that research assignment. You know, you can be very, very simple or super complex. It could be something that they do in a day. It's something that they do over the course of 2, 3, 4 semesters. So think about what kind of research assignment you want to have, what kind of students you want to be doing those assignments. And just realize that the library has a lot more resources than you probably assume,
Mhm.
and a lot more knowledge and skill sets than you probably assume. So just go in with this idea, be ready for some, refining of those ideas, and maybe some challenges to those ideas. And that always pays off. But do it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say do it as well. I will add that, like, the tilt that you all covered and having that purpose, like, go into your meeting with the librarian with at least knowing the purpose of your assignment,
Mhm.
and the librarians can help you figure out the rest, the rest of it. Because for me, I knew the purpose, and it was a course, it was a brand new course for me, when I started at EKU, and so I had something from the former instructor, but I didn't really understand why it existed. And so I had the purpose as far as I understood it. And I brought that, and she really helped me figure out and pull from it, like, what can we actually do? What resources are available through the library? Because I didn't know what questions to ask,
Mhm.
but I was able to say, okay, this is where I want to get them to. Okay. And then she helped me figure out how to get there. And be open to being outside of your classroom.
Mhm.
Because some of the most engaging experiences we had were when my class came to the library
Mhm.
to work. So, be open to that when you work with them.
I would say, I would strongly recommend that you develop a relationship with your liaison. Brad works with all of our faculty, and it's incredible because our students meet Brad. So I'm in social work. Our students meet Brad in their introduction to social work course. And then Brad is in all of our classes. So Brad knows our assignments, and he knows he has a broad overview of our curriculum and what we expect our students to do at different levels. But even bigger than that is that our students know Brad. And so they are more comfortable coming and talking to him because they haven't just heard his name one time. Students don't want to reach out for help ever. But if they do that connection, and if you can get them when they're young and really scared and they know that they don't know anything, if you can get that connection with your librarian, it's easier when they're older and they think they know everything. But it has just been so good. Brett, also, we are the tried and true. We've been doing like this. This is when I was in school, and I'm older than a lot of you, and so it was way different then. And Brad is a little more up on, well, that worked 10 years ago, but maybe, I don't know. You'd want to think about this. And we are sure seeing that we have to change
Yeah.
based on the students that we have now. And so I think that that's been really good.
Yeah, it's a very rewarding experience being part of the curriculum. That's one thing that we librarians really strive to do, to be, I work very hard to be present in their lives, and in a variety of different ways. Library instruction in the building. I try to be in the course I'll post an announcement every once in a while, say, hey, don't forget that we can help you. And I think that's one of the ways that they really know my name. They come and ask for me at the desk. And so they see me in all these different places. And so I become a real person to them instead of just an email address. And so they're much more likely to reach out. So having a librarian being part of the curriculum, is, in my opinion, extremely valuable, and I would encourage everyone to consider that.
Yeah, give them a name.
Yeah.
Like, just like you said, just having, giving them the name, even if the only thing you do is say, I mean, if the only thing you do is say you can get help in the library, that's still a good start. But knowing who your individual liaison is, oftentimes we are familiar with, again, the courses, we're familiar with the curriculum, and even coming in, and you may have changed some things up. Sometimes we'll have a little history that we can bring, and that's kind of informative to those conversations. But I just feel like giving the students a name, a person specifically to go to, is really helpful. When we met for, I got to be part of like the whole semester with this class, and I got to sit in on their presentations. And one of the things that the students, one of the feedback things, because we kind of had an informal feedback session after their presentations, I kind of asked them, like, what did you think about me coming in more than once? Because I met with them 3 different times throughout the semester. And I was so, like, part of me wants to cry and part of me is cheering, like, oh, one student said, I didn't know that you could like talk to a librarian like that you could meet with them one-on-one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how many ways do we have, so on the one hand, I'm like, okay, how else do we say it? Because I feel like we've said it and danced around it and put signs up about it. But at the same time, this student said, I wish I had known. And so maybe one way is just as simple as, if you have questions in terms of research, obviously you're the point person for the assignment, but we can help them with where to go for research, how to understand what they're finding, and those kind of things.
Yeah, and I'll add to that what Cindy was saying. I don't want to say took the work off of my workload, but she helped me so much because I didn't have to figure out how to teach the students to use the library's website. I could say, you've met Cindy, you have her contact information, she told you to reach out. And they did. Some of them did, and I never even heard about it until after. And it was, as an instructor, it's so nice to be like, oh, I have someone else that I can send the students to.
And then the students will go to your librarian and they will say, can you please write my paper? Or
Yeah.
I can't reach Professor Saulnier. Can you get her for me?
I got a few of those.
That I don't know.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Just what the librarians recommend you do before coming to you all with these assignment ideas? And we answer the question, but if there's anything we've missed.
I would agree with what you said. I think as long as you come to us with what's the end goal, what student are you trying to serve? And, and it could be, like you said, like, this is the goal at the end of the week, at the end of the semester, at the end of their college career, at the start of their workforce career. And so as long as we have kind of that general idea, we can meet more than once and talk about it. We've met, a few times. Just kind of, you don't have to know all the answers, I guess is kind of what I want to say. But we need to have a general idea of, this is kind of what you want and the path that you want to take. But it doesn't have to be complicated.
And really, you and I talked about like a whole course redevelopment. So
Yeah.
that's, I almost feel like if I get paid for it, I should give you some of that.
I'll remind you, you said that when no, I'm just kidding.
That's recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I remember we met, so I don't even know if we sat together much during the actual retreat, but we
No.
talked just a little tiny bit afterward. And then we followed up with some meetings to really like look at the whole semester and figure out where some of the things that we covered in the retreat could apply throughout the semester. And, it was important for me to really understand, the course and how that assignment, that research assignment fits within the context of the course. So I think just having that, again, going back to the purpose, what is it that you, if we're talking specifically about research assignments, you know, what are you hoping they get out of it? And again, what do you want to see as a final product? Are you hoping, for example, does it matter to you that the sources that they are relying on or supposedly relying on, you know, for their work, does it matter to you that they are this type of source? And I don't just mean scholarly sources, you know, that's great. But, you know, as we talked about this yesterday or the day before, having a peer-reviewed article is great. And we do want to teach students about the value of that, but we also want them to understand what does that article, how does that article contribute to your knowledge and learning about that topic? Because this could be a great study on XYZ, but who are they actually studying? So did they actually look at the same type of people that you're describing in your research? Are you using this just random example because it was the first result on the academic search ultimate screen? You know, so I think just having those, really the advice I would say is set up a time to meet and come with the things you want, the things you hope that students will get out of whatever that research is, and just allow for the time to have those free flow conversations. It's one thing to kind of anticipate what we're going to say, and then hopefully we're going to surprise you and you're going to be like, wow, that was not what I thought, but in so much of a good way, because I think we may surprise you with things we suggest. So. Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm Kelly Smith. I'm also in the library. I think what y'all are touching on is something that we think a lot about in the library in terms of sustainability. Like, think of all the students on campus that we have to work with, like all of them, all 14,000 or whatever. It's so much easier if you develop a good assignment ahead of time, and we help them with that, than us trying to help students with bad assignments, because those are hard. You know, they'll sometimes are assignments that are really hard for them to meet the requirements because we don't have that type of resource in the library or something. So just setting it up in the beginning with us makes it easier. It makes it better for everybody. It makes it easier for the students, less stress, better pay. You'll see better results, and we will have an easier time helping them with their assignments. So I think it's just kind of a win-win all around.
That was actually one of the things that came out of this assignment is Brad and I were talking about the specific questions, and what we came up with is some of the questions we were asking on the assignment, the students could not answer them. Right. They didn't have the ability to find the resources to answer that question. It was at a higher level, and it was going to involve more than they could do. So we took that question off. That was just a really concrete example of a discussion that impacted the assignment immediately.
And I think I would add to what I'm hearing, and especially jumping off of that, coming to us with like, okay, this is what I want to see in the end, but also coming to us, if it's something you've done before, here are where my students have struggled in the past. Here's how they haven't met this particular, you know, goal that I have for them. Here's what they did instead. And then sometimes, as Kelly's talking about resources, sometimes if we have a conversation early on, maybe we don't have a resource because it's something that you need and you know, and it's like, oh, that's in my discipline, but we haven't landed on it. If we plan ahead, we can get those things sometimes, right? And then going back to your comment specifically, close the loop with us, right? So a lot of times we work with you early on, we do some planning, we do some instruction, research appointments, and then we're at the end of the semester and we're like, well, hope that went well, right? Because we are not grading your students. We're not seeing what they turn in. So closing the loop with us and letting us know what worked about that collaboration and what didn't work about that collaboration, right? It's not always going to be perfect. And so that we can do iterative design with you. So, all right, we got them this far this time. What do we do next?
That's so important for being able to improve over time. And like the relationship we have, we shake the bugs out of it and figure out what's not working and move forward. When you do these projects that are just isolated, you don't learn. You learn some from it, but you don't learn and long-term, I guess you could say. So,
Yeah, don't be afraid to give us feedback. We are open to it. You know, we do a lot of sessions and we'll say, you know, how was that? You know, what did your students get out of it? Oh, it was great. Thank you. But was it? I was there. I saw this thing happen. So give us feedback. Tell us what's really going on so that we can help you and your students. So at the end of the day, getting these students where they need to be is why we're all here.
Right, there's the big question, right? Woo! Go ahead. Was that you or me at this point? I don't know.
I think it's me.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. How did the retreat help you frame and or change your understanding or approach to the use of AI in the research process? Who wants it?
So one of the things that we did was figured out how I could develop a way to encourage my students to use AI in a appropriate way. So I had workshops that our paper is in 3 parts. So for the second part of the paper, we all got on Zoom. We met on Zoom. Everybody has their computer out. And we went into Copilot. And then I started using the students' topics. I started saying, okay, somebody give me your topic. And then I put it in there. And we used different words to figure out how to pull up information related to what was in that part of the paper. Then we talked about, okay, so I shared my screen. Here's what we found. How do we use this in this paper? And so we talked about, okay, so what we're going to do is it gave us some ideas, it gave us some topics, and it gave us some suggested sources. Let's go find those sources. And so we went and found those sources. Now, what I will say is that I think that it made life easier for a lot of my students. I did have more trouble this year, not on their paper, but on other assignments with students turning in what appeared to be AI papers. So I don't know if that would have happened anyways. I don't know if I taught them how to cheat better. I don't, you know, like I'm.
Obviously not, because you figured it out.
Well, I am smarter than they are, and I tell them that, but so I don't know. I still am, I don't know. I don't know. I'll be interested to hear what other people are.
So mine was similar in that so the retreat helped me figure out some actual tools in AI that I didn't know anything about and figure out how we could use them in class. And Cindy actually took on the part of teaching them how to use the tool. So that was a huge help to me as an instructor because I was not confident teaching them to use this tool. And so that was one of the days that we came over and she walked them through actually using it. Because it's one thing to just turn them loose and say, okay, figure this out. And it's another to say, we're going to teach you how to use this. And now you're going to give me the results from what you found. Mm-hmm. And so it really put it on them to be like, you're learning to use a tool from AI. We're not saying like, stay away. We're saying use it. Now show me what you got. And so for me, it helped me actually integrate AI in a very purposeful way in the classroom. And it put the accountability on the students. Like they're acknowledging, yes, I'm using it and this is how I used it. And the other thing, and this is just something tiny, but I loved that the librarians during the retreat said, I don't know which one of you said it, but someone said, ChatGPT is just that. It is a chat. You are chatting with like one of your friends. So would you take your friend's words verbatim and put them in your work? Probably not. And that stuck with me. Because I'm like, that's really a good way to think about it. It's not that their ideas are bad or some of them are really going to be great, but it is a chat. Yeah, so it changed a lot about mine.
The other assignments too, that you thought people might be using AI for all of their assignments?
Did I notice what? Sorry,
Like this, what Stephanie said about.
That in other assignments.
Did you see
Oh,
in other
did I
parts
see?
that they were using AI to complete it?
Yes, but not, I have been seeing that in classes. But not in this one, because we intentionally, from the very beginning, designed every step of this project to have some component of like, this is where it's appropriate to use AI.
Mhm.
And so they were given the like green card to go. And where I did find a challenge is that they struggled with checking AI. So like we had them use AI for their citations. And yeah, it was
Yep.
difficult.
Yeah.
So the main assignment for my class is, the class is called Scientific Literacy in Life. So it's basically how to use scientifically generated information to inform your life in just any area that involves psychology, which is pretty much everything that they're going to be doing. So we wanted to encourage AI as sort of a starting point, generating ideas, answering some questions, but then following up and scrutinizing the evidence, just like you would do for any information, and going through a checklist and saying, here's why this is good evidence. So the context that we're doing this in is something I've had in many classes. It's just collaborative problem solving. So I'll say something like, all right, so your small group is being tasked to create an initiative for first gen college students to feel connected to better connected to the university. How are you going to do that? And how is that informed by scientific evidence? So you all need to come up with ideas. You all need to find the resources that support those ideas. You need to scrutinize that evidence as good evidence. And as a group, you need to give me one integrative idea for this initiative. So I feel like this is the kind of work that, college educated people are going to need to be able to know how to do in the future and even now. So knowing that they're going to use AI, what are they going to bring to the table to this collaborative process? That's not just something that a chatbot could take over your job. I'm trying to make them robo-proof. It's just like, if you're going to be no better than a chatbot, you're not going to get paid. You're not going to get hired. You're not going to get paid. You're not going to be promoted for that kind of work. So really, preparing them for this kind of work that they may be needed for, but knowing they're going to use AI, how do you use AI in a critical way? Thinking deeply about it, but also sort of fact checking AI. But, I was not receptive to using AI. My wife will tell you I was really complaining about how inaccurate AI is for like how information, and it has a lot of holes in it. And that's why we need to teach our students how to fill those holes, not just say, oh, this is no good, it has holes in it. But I kind of feel like AI now is something that is getting so advanced that it's almost like if we're teaching our kids how to cook a meal, it's like, well, did you harvest your own crops? Did you slaughter your own livestock? Did you build your own fire? I guess it's not really cooking then. So it's like, we need to try to get rid of these old traditional ways of doing it. That's still cooking, but it's like, why would you learn how to do that? There's so many easier and more efficient ways to do that. And AI is allowing us to do that. So it's really, for all of us, AI is kind of like, what is the human need in the contribution to this process? We're all having to try to figure that out. And, if students can generate a passable response to your question straight from AI, then they don't need to be paying all these exorbitant amounts for tuition to go here. They can just do what everyone else does. So how are we getting them prepared to be users of AI, but demonstrating that they're using college education and using their AI? So yes, so refining the process, how to actually extract the information that you actually need, how to integrate across information. And as AI gets more advanced and more, and smarter, and we need to start thinking, all right, I don't like asking this question, but did the student really need college education to answer these questions? Or are they able to just jump on this thing, get the kind of answer that without going to college? And so just sort of trying to stay ahead of those advancements and making their college education worth it, and demonstrating and articulating, this is why I deserve to be heard in this group, because I know how to use this better, and I've been trained to use this better than everyone else in this room.
Even just having an understanding of there are multiple different AI
Sure.
tools puts them a step above the general public.
Mhm.
And the librarians know those tools way better than I do. So who better to teach them?
Can you describe the rationale for the changes you made and how you've seen or anticipate seeing that impact student learning?
I talked a little bit about mine. We were, Brad and I had noticed that students were getting caught up on the same questions every semester. And we did see a difference. So this year they instead of having multiple questions, they only had 2 questions in each session. We rearranged the order of the questions that seemed to make a difference. And we could, the outcomes were still not good, but they were better than they were last semester. So it did turn out well.
Oh gosh, mine is, it was a complete overhaul. I totally changed the entire course based on our interactions. So, and it's for the better. I think it was better for me as an instructor. It was better for the students, even though they didn't like it because they complained that it was really hard. It was, this was a senior level class, and it's something they hadn't received before that point in their years at EKU, and so they needed it. And I'm really excited. We, at every step of the way, included a little reflection part of the assignment. And so it was literally reflect on, and I had to give them prompts. By the way, you can't just ask them to reflect. Don't do that.
I liked it.
I liked it. Yeah, I learned a lot. Thanks. So give them prompts and ask them about the interactions, ask them about the different things that you implemented. And so we're going to actually have a debriefing session over winter break to talk about how it impacted student learning, and then we'll be able to intentionally make changes for the future. So I can't report on that part yet.
I have not implemented these changes because, like I said, it's part of a redevelopment. I'm waiting to get paid before I actually implement these changes. So, and you should too. If you change a course completely, you should put in the request for that compensation. But if anticipate seeing, I'm expecting to see a big mess, honestly. And that's the degree to which I TNT'd this whole class is like a lot. It's a very different course than it's been. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to really, I think the tilt on it is going to be off the charts, because it's like, this is stuff you're not getting anywhere else. And no one else is going to teach you how to do this stuff. And this is like specifically applying these things to inform your life decisions. So it's like very purposeful and very new. But it's new to me, it's new to them. And that's why I'm expecting a big mess. But I have a philosophy and motto. It's like, hurry up and fail. Just like, do it. Just know you're going to make mistakes, know there's going to be a big mess to clean up, and you make it a little bit better next time and see what happens and make it a little bit better next time. And of course, it's probably going to have to be, tweaked and refined and updated as AI changes and gets better. And the kinds of questions, the kind of initiatives I'm asking them to do needs to be updated probably too. But I anticipate them to learn something that they're not learning anywhere else. And so I'm anticipating a very steep learning curve where it's like, in my opinion, so my 20th year at EKU and 25th year doing higher ed, I become very, maybe I've been crotchety my whole life, but like I've gotten to the point where it's like, if you're just asking them to repeat
Mhm.
definitions of concepts to you, they're just rehearsing memory skills. So if you're teaching them memory skills, they're learning that over and over and over and over. Where are the other skills that they need to know? So we're bringing in these brand new tools and these brand new things. And if they stink at it right away, that's kind of the point. Is like, it's supposed to be a new thing that they're learning in the class, and not just new concepts and practicing their memory skills for new concepts, but they're new skills that they've never encountered before. So for them to, so like the one thing I think that came out in the retreat was like, your student learning outcome should be like learning how to make mistakes and fix them, was like an actual student learning outcome. Was really neat, because I was like, that's kind of a philosophy I have, but I never put it as like an official student learning outcome. Like, you're going to fail this the first couple times and you're going to get better at it, is the point of it all. So so yeah, that's what I expect, is like a whole lot of tears and students like just like, this is so hard. It's like, it's supposed to be hard. You're not, were you good at eating or walking right away? No, you tripped and you spilled all over yourself, and this is the same thing. It's a whole new skill you never learned before. And that's the point, is like, you need to go into a new skill anticipating that you have a lot to learn. And so this is that's for them and that's for me. So yeah, I don't mean to be like pessimistic that I expect a mess. I just kind of feel like that's what happens. And we'll all learn how to do it better.
Are you doing a grading contract for that class, or is it grades? How are you doing that? If it's gonna be a mess.
It's probably going to be more of a ungraded process, like how, look back at how much you learned and report how much you learned. The ungrading that we do in psychology kind of depends on the instructor. So I base mine on like if you completed all the assignments, you can propose it. If you skipped a bunch of things, you can't propose it. And some people say like, do it again. But mostly what I'm going to do is practicing the same skills week to week with new problems. It's just new life areas, but the process is going to be the same. The skills are going to be the same. But those collaborative problem solving, like data, it's like 10% get A level at the first week and more like 70 to 80% in the last weeks. So they do definitely learn how to do it.
I think during the retreat, I think they also said, like, you all shared with us similar, put in there struggle.
Yeah.
Like that's one of your purpose. You're
Yep.
supposed to struggle.
Yep.
And when I told my students that, they were like, oh, so this is, okay.
Anxiety's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gone. I was like, pat yourself on the back if you're struggling. That means you're actually trying.
They're learning. Yeah.
Yeah, you're learning. Again, they didn't like it, but it made sense to them. So that helped a lot. And I will say, I did think of one reason rationale. So my students are going to become teachers. They're in teacher education prep program, and they hear us talk a lot about collaboration. And lean on the resources around you, and go to the professionals that's their expertise. And what a better way to show them or to teach them that than to actually do it. And so, and I don't think that's specific to an education program.
No, that's very good.
We've got last question, right? Yeah, that's our last one. So we've got 14 minutes.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Right? Very good. Well played. All right, so if anyone has a question for our panel, I'll bring the box over to you.
I'm checking on the Zoom room.
They're making me toss. This may just be really basic, but just since, right, we're all new first year faculty, is this kind of retreat set up something that's done every year, or I just don't know much about, this was the first one? Okay,
We're hoping there will be additional iterations of this. We are planning for some sessions during the spring. Fingers crossed, we get all that ready to go. So you'll be seeing that in communications.
awesome. Sorry if I missed that, but I was just like very curious about what the plan was.
Yeah. No, we didn't say that. Our, past sort of doing this has always been to say, we'll do this with you. Contact your librarian, consultation, yay. But we hadn't really done that outreach and thought about just saying, bringing people together in a room together to do what and figure out what it would look like and sort of advertise it in that way. So it's something that we maybe do again in the future, but definitely are planning to do in like smaller bits throughout the spring semester, probably. Rusty.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You got a question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
This comes from Thomas Sutherland. I'm curious about the way the library was able to show students how to use the AI generative tools. Is that something open to all faculty?
I mean, I don't know who.
I mean, I can talk, I'll at least talk about what I did, and I don't know, Britt, you could probably talk about things you've done as well, but with this particular course, the students came in, I taught them or modeled for them the use of SciSpace. And so the students had already been to a session once, and they had to bring a PDF of an article that they had found. And so not only was I going to sort of model and show them how they can use SciSpace, but then they were going to actually take something they had already found and put it into SciSpace and sort of maximize some of the features and tools that were available in there. So I know that one of the things we're working on as a team is working on some of these sort of basic information literacy skills, but using AI. For example, in fact, Brad and I are on a group that is, we're developing 2 different sort of general lesson plans, and all of the groups are doing this, where you're evaluating information. And so we're going to build in AI tools to help with the teaching of evaluating information. We've been doing these sessions forever, and now we're going to actually teach them about ChatGPT and how you fact check ChatGPT. And so we're going to ask the students, for example, in one of the lessons, we're asking them to put in a prompt, see what it gives you, and then open up some new tabs and model. We're going to teach them and have them apply that lateral reading strategy. So those kind of things we can do at the lower levels. We can do them at the senior levels. We can do them at the doctoral levels. We can do them at any level. Our goal as a team is not necessarily to become the experts on this, and this tool. Many of us have explored different tools that we're familiar with and we're kind of comfortable with. But I don't think our messaging is that, hey, we know all the tools. Do you want to know how to use this tool? We can teach your student, that's not necessarily what our goal is. But if there's an assignment, a research assignment in particular, that you come to us and say, hey, I want the students to do this thing, and here's what I really want them to get out of it, we might be able to find a tool that would work well, or point out, hey, this tool could work for that. And so, yes, so the answer to the question is yes, we would do that in probably any context. And it really starts with reaching out to us. Let us know what you need, what you want your students to get out of whatever that assignment is, that research assignment, and let's figure out how, because we've got to, I think, kind of figure out ways where AI can help them, and not just ChatGPT, right? I mean, ChatGPT is the one we all know and use and the students use, but what else is out there? Because there are tools like SciSpace, and even one of Dr. Dial's students said she had never done a synthesis matrix. And so I helped them learn about doing a synthesis matrix and SciSpace, and there are some other tools that are really, really good at helping them to see and visualize what does it look like? When you're putting together a literature review, how can an AI tool help you put together a literature review, right? How does that, and it sort of visually gives you a sense of, you know, the synthesis matrix. And so this student she said that I didn't even know what that was. And she asked her mom, who also works here, like, hey, mom, do you know what this thing is? And so she starts talking to her about this. And, you know, I'm kind of geeking out over here like a student who's like, she's talking about synthesis matrices. But anyway, we would love to talk more with you about, again, just, and we're not here preaching everything needs to be AI. We just feel like Dr. Gore was saying, they're using it. So how can we, in the authority position, how can we model for them and guide them through effective, critical use of these tools, responsible use? So frankly, on future assignments for other people, they're using AI, but they're doing it in the way we want them to do it and not in the way that because if we don't tell them anything, they're going to keep doing ChatGPT. And they're going to keep just leaning on that. And that's where they're going to send stuff to you, submit stuff to you. It's garbage. And you're going to be frustrated, and they're frustrated because maybe they just don't understand the assignment. So let's take back a little bit of the power and figure out how can we teach them to use it effectively and responsibly. Yeah.
Ethically.
Ethically. Yes. All of those things.
It can be done. Yes. Jonathan Vorbeck in HPA in the chat says, very informative session, so congratulations. I'm teaching a grad research course for the first time this spring. I want, with emphasis, students to utilize available EKU resources to support their application of the research methods they've learned in the program. So a faculty member to reach out to for collaboration or information. So
Awesome.
HPA.
Health Promotion
Health
Administration.
promotion.
I'm going to do a quick plug for data initiatives, which helps people with their methodology. Oops, sorry, data initiatives in the Knoll Studio helps with methodology and stats and all that. So if that's part of your research projects, data initiatives can help with that.
So my question is my research assignments aren't typically traditional research assignments. Like students are not using peer-reviewed journal articles they're not, the most they're going to be like hunting up is a specific website, because I do a lot of case studies. So I'm like, you know, pick an airport that you're going to analyze and apply course concepts to discussion of that airport. So how do I determine whether, if I want to have my assignments reviewed, how do I determine what type of consultation, librarian, instructional designer, or FCT&L, or can I schedule a 3-part meeting with all people at the same time?
Do that. Yeah, that's really great.
But yes, like even if it's not traditional yes, thank you. Even if it's not traditional peer review, we can still help with research that's outside of those traditional academic realms. Because then it becomes about, you know, how do you determine what's a good source? How do you verify the information on that source? Where else can you look that's not, you know, just living in the library? So yes, absolutely. But yeah, if you can get all 3 of those people in the room at the same time, we'll be there.
Especially, I would say, especially maybe the ID and the librarian.
Yeah.
And then figuring out, I don't know what component the Knoll Studio might play, but I definitely think in terms of getting 2 of the 3, and that's selfishly biased, plugging the IDs in the library. Not anything against Knoll Studio, they're awesome. But I would say thinking about, again, partnering if the library can play a role. And again, maybe it's evaluating how are they choosing the website that they're going to. And you know, that doesn't mean that we have to be involved in everything, but if there is a part we could play, you know, having that conversation, maybe we determine that it is not something that, yes. Maybe it's something that we don't necessarily do, or we don't come to an instruction session. Maybe it's a matter of just, again, plugging individual consultations with either us or somebody in the studio. So yeah, we would just love the opportunity to talk.
Right. We do a lot of research assistance, in various disciplines that doesn't involve peer review. So, you know, I work with justice and safety a lot, and we're looking at codes and laws and things like that. So, that wouldn't be a problem at all. Yeah.
I work with this.
Yeah.
Very. We like to say we should information niche, and that doesn't always mean it always needs to be all.
Yes.
And I think Clay Howard is aviation.
Yeah, he wrote us a really great live guide this semester because we didn't have one, and so, yeah.
He can help you with it.
Yeah.
Place great.
I really hope you guys do another retreat, because as workshops go, it was really good. And
I
actually-
agree.
I do a lot of eye rolling in many workshops, and I loved your workshop.
Just like
Had the best.
smudging, crotchety, you were talking about. just being sort of
There's
like-
probably some of that was part of that, but yeah, but really just like the information that you were giving to us and the chance to sort of practice and try it out and talk it out. I think it's just the right balance of all those things. It wasn't all of one. Many workshops just end up being people talking at you, and it wasn't that at all. So I would definitely recommend doing it again and everyone just attending that if you haven't done it.
I would second that. I believe that I came out of that workshop with tangible new skills that impacted my work. And been to stuff that I couldn't say that. So I do though, with the new faculty, one thing that I would recommend is that there is a plethora of really good opportunities to collaborate with folks on campus. And you learn them through the professional development opportunities that are there. Take advantage of everything that you can. If it isn't good, you can just kind of mute yourself or work on something else, but you will be amazed at how much you can learn in an hour on something that you didn't know.
Yeah. I just want to add, I was in your all's shoes 1 year ago. I was in the new faculty seminar. So kudos for being here. I know it's tough, especially this time with grades due Monday. So the sessions that you get to have every month, for me at least, I was just trying to keep my head above the water. I had 4 new preps, all 8 were new preps my first year. So yeah, it was not easy. And I'm a program of 1, so I had no one to go to. But I have a running list of all of the people that came and talked to us during these sessions, and like just the resources. I know I reached out to Rusty multiple times my first year, like, who do I go to? I don't remember. And if I hadn't done the new faculty seminar throughout the whole year, not that it was optional, but if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't have felt connected to EKU. And it seems very